So, hello and welcome everyone to Learners Insight. So, in this channel, we are trying to impart the maximum knowledge so that you can attempt for the certifications, right? Prepare for your certifications. So, in this series, we are going to start and launch with Azure Administrator, that is AZ104. Before starting any such cloud platform, be it AWS, Azure, GCP, you must be very aware about the cloud concepts. What exactly is cloud computing, right? Irrespective of any cloud platform that you work with, a clear understanding of what public cloud is, what private cloud is, and what a hybrid cloud is, how does it work, and a real time visualization of such a scenario is very important, not only for the people who are just preparing for such certifications, but nowadays we see that there is a lot of discussion going on in the companies. People are trying to move on from their on premises environment to the cloud environment because of the intensive demand of the cloud in each and every sector, because of its high availability, scalability, and different numerous advantages which cloud is offering. So let's start off with this series. We'll be going ahead with AZ104 series. This can guarantee you that you can pass the certification with the proper guidance, right? You don't need to go on to any formal training. You can just complete the AZ104 certification, and I will be trying to impart the best of my knowledge of what I know about AZ104, right? And how was my experience and what I have learned out of it and how did I pass the exam, right? So starting off with cloud concepts, right? So when we talk about cloud, what is cloud, right? So as you can see here, cloud computing is the delivery of computing services over internet, enabling faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. Let me just quickly put it to the slideshow, right? So as you can see, when you talk about, just change the color of the pen so that it's feasible for you, right? So when we talk about cloud, right, we have the proper compute, memory, networking, and storage that is being available to us on a pay as you go model. We will be talking about what pay as you go model is, right? In a pay as you go model on an on demand basis, right? So, as you can see, it is the delivery of computing services over the internet. When we talk about different cloud providers, be it AWS, GCP, Azure, so there are a lot of services and a lot of enabilities that you can perform that you are still performing onto your on premises in a better and an optimized way, right? And it enables faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. Now, let me just clear this point. For example, you are working with an on premises environment, right? The struggle, the administrative overhead, the additional overhead that comes into the on premises is very much, right? There is a lot of capital expenditure as well as operational expenditure involved in an on premises environment. So, to be specific about how it is there, so just imagine you want to set up your own private cloud environment into your office today, right? You have to do all the purchasing, you have to buy the servers, you have to rack it, stack it, put the operating system, put the proper runtime environment, ensure that your applications are on place, right? And proper data is being collected over that environment. Now, when you are trying to achieve all these, right? So there is a lot of additional overhead which is involved. So just imagine that you want to set up your on-premises environment today, right? So you have to ensure that the compute, memory, network, storage, the operating system, the runtime environment, the application, and the data, all these becomes whose responsibility? This is your responsibility. Okay. So that is what a scenario of private cloud is. Now, how is an on-premises a private cloud? When you attempt virtualization over your on-premises environment, when you use this on-premises environment with the cloud enabilities, in that condition, we call this as a private cloud. And it's here, right? You are responsible for ensuring all these overhead activities, right? Not only this will cost you capital expenditure, but also an operational expenditure. But is this quite scalable? For example, let's talk about this being your setup in US East. Can you scale out feasibly and just very with a few clicks, as you can do onto cloud? You want to spin up another environment in US West. Can you do it? So it will require a lot of cost involvement and a lot of time involvement. Because of this, because of the challenges that we face in the on premises, we are gradually moving onto the public cloud environment. Earlier, people were having a idea that public cloud is not secure. It is available to everyone. But then you have to know about the security parameters offered by public cloud, which makes it highly secure in nature. So we are going to gradually explore each and every aspect, how the cloud is highly available, how the cloud is scalable, how is it ensured that the cloud is secure in comparison to the private cloud environment that we have, right? So gradually we are going to have a look onto all these topics. So you are being provided with compute, networking, storage, proper analytics, right? Over the data that you have collected, you can perform analytics over the data, right? There are different analytical tools that you can opt from any particular environment, or you can use even the third party analytics tools which are available, right? So we will be discussing about all these categories of the services one by one as we move ahead with the Azure introduction and Azure uh, going on with studying about Azure administration, Azure security, and so on. So now let's talk about public cloud. So the environment that we were talking about is of a private cloud, which is an on-premises. Here you can see organizations create a cloud environment in their data center, right? They perform virtualization. They want to use cloud capabilities over to the on-premises environment. Organization is responsible for operating the services that they provide, does not provide access to users outside the organization. It is for the people who are within the organization, right? Because it's your private cloud. For example, I have a company hosted in US East, and I have spinned up a private cloud environment for them. I don't want any other users to take the benefit. I have my own data center which contains information about my company and my employees and my organization, and I want to store the data relevant to my organization. In that cases, we have the private cloud. Now let's talk about a public cloud. Now you see here, this is owned by cloud services or hosting provider. So we have different cloud providers available in the market. You can choose from any of the cloud providers which are available. Provides resources and services to multiple organizations and users, and accessed via secure network connection. This is very important because the base of public cloud is internet, right? You need internet to connect to your services. Now, this was about public and private cloud. talking about hybrid cloud, which is a combination of a public cloud and a private cloud, and it allows application to run in the most appropriate location. Now just imagine you already had a setup of your on-premises environment, right? But you now face challenges in scaling your environment, in making it highly available in nature, right? So because of these challenges, you thought of trying out the public cloud environment. So now, since you have an existing environment, which is your private cloud, right? But you want to extend your capabilities of compute, memory, networking, and storage, and different capabilities which can be performed over the cloud environment. You want to extend towards those capabilities. In that case, you also opt for a public cloud environment. So that generates a scenario where you are working in a hybrid scenario, right? So see, if you are not very clear with the idea, let me just make it quite simple in approach for the people who are new to cloud, right? So cloud being a space where you can store any format of the data, and you can get the compute, memory, networking, and storage easily available to you. So when you talk about cloud categories, so at the first we have the public cloud, then we have the private cloud, and then the hybrid cloud. Let me take a small example to make you understand, okay? Sorry. Yeah. So let's imagine in the case of a public cloud, you want to travel from location A to location B, okay? But just imagine that you want to go 10 kilometers apart. So are you going to buy a car for that if you don't have the car? So what you will do, you will use transportation services such as Uber, Ola, Grab, relevant to your company, right? So any transportation services with which you will get a driver, right, who owns a car, and what you have to do is just make a booking online, and you use the services to book this travel from distance A to B, and you travel the 10-kilometer distance, and whatever is the charges for it, right, you pay for that charges. So it is also called as pay as you go. How much you use, you pay for that much. But imagine the situation of a private cloud. In that, you have to buy this car, right? So you have spent capital expenditure in buying this car. Now you want to travel from distance A to distance B. You have to pay for the charges of this distance, as well as you have to ensure that whatever the additional cost is required for regular servicing, regular maintenance, you all have to bear that, right? Because this is your own car. Similar is the environment with private cloud. This is your own server, right? You buy this server. So you put capital expenditure as well as operational expenditure onto it. Not only that, you have to ensure that you are making sure that it is functioning properly. So everything becomes your responsibility. But as we come to the scenario of public cloud, the situation changes. How? This server is owned by someone else, who is, in your case, can be AWS, Azure, GCP, anyone, right? And they are providing you the proper compute, memory, networking, storage, and the hardware in place. Only you have to put your operating system, depends on the category of the service that you want to use, either PaaS service or SaaS service or infrastructure as a service. Whatever category that you use depends on the category that you select, category of the services that you select. You the additional overhead comes likewise, and also the cost varies. So here you don't have to own this infrastructure, you don't have to own this server in order to spin up an application over this environment. But here you have to. That means the capital expenditure which was spent in buying the server is now not in picture, right? Why? Because this is owned by a cloud provider and they are providing you the proper space, memory, network, storage required to host your services, to host your applications, to host your servers, to host your software. What you are responsible for is to pay for the operational charges. That's all, right? So that is the major difference between a public cloud and private cloud. In a private cloud, you own your own vehicle, similar to it owning the server. So you have to pay for the capital expenditure, operational expenditure, and everything becomes your responsibility. But that's not the case in public cloud. Now, when we come to hybrid cloud, so here we already have an existing private cloud environment. That means you have already bought a car. But now you know that you need additional capabilities. So in that case, you want to use the benefits offered by public cloud environment also. So sometimes you are using your car, sometimes as per feasibility, you even using Ola and Uber applications. So that's the scenario of a hybrid cloud. I hope this makes quite clear to you, right? As we go ahead and proceed ahead, we will be going on and experiencing how we are hosting infrastructure as a service, platform as a services over the Azure environment. Okay. Now, there is a quick comparison as we have just discussed now: public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. No capital expenditures to scale up. So you can scale up easily, but you don't need capital expenditure because that infrastructure is not owned by you, right? That server is not owned by you. You can spin up an infrastructure as a service over that environment of public cloud, but you don't have to ensure, okay, the hardware is in place or not. I have to buy the computer, I have to rack it, stack it. That's not your responsibility. That responsibility is taken care by the cloud provider. Applications can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned. Okay, today you wanted to do some test of your application. Can you do it easily onto your private cloud environment or your on premises? For that, you have to set up a different test environment, right, into your private cloud. And if you don't have, you have to buy it, rack it, stack it, and place that server into picture. But that's not the case with public cloud. You come here, you just spin up an application, you use a PaaS service, you spin up your application, run your code, and that's all. Your application is up and running, and you have tested the application. Okay, I'm done with it. I will switch off the application. I will just turn it off, and I don't incur any additional charges. So it is very easily to provision and deprovision both, right? Organizations pay only for what they use. So if you are working in a company and you are using the advantage of AWS cloud or Azure cloud, you have to pay as per the charges being referred by those cloud providers, right? Coming on to private cloud, hardware must be purchased for startup and maintenance. That is a capital expenditure. Organizations have complete control over resources and security. Right? Organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates. So all these you have to take care. But that's not the case with public cloud. In an hybrid cloud scenario, this provides you very most flexibility. Organizations determine where to run their applications. Organizations control security, compliance, and legal requirements. Right? So let's move ahead. What is the advantage of cloud computing? So now we are at the major agenda. What is the advantage of cloud? Why should I go with cloud? What makes cloud so much in demand, so much popular, and so much uh, as per our need? Because it is highly available in nature. Depending on the SLA agreement, that you choose. So that's a service level agreement. So if I want higher availability, higher SLAs, so we pay higher, and the replication is more. So we are going to talk about this in detail, but yes, this is the agenda of SLA. Higher the SLA, higher is the higher availability, right? Higher, more is the replication, and it is ensured that your data will be durable in nature, right? uh, and also available in nature. That you choose your cloud based apps can provide continuous user experience with no apparent downtime, even when things go wrong, right? You ensure that you have the proper infrastructure replication in place, so that even if there is a downtime, I can either fail over to another site, or I have replicas in place, I can spin up new environments from that. So you have to ensure high availability, right? Scalability, apps in the cloud can scale vertically and horizontally. That's very important point. What is horizontal scaling and what is vertical scaling? So as we talk about scaling, right? Scaling is adjusting according to the requirement, right? So if I talk about scaling, scaling is categorized in two categories. One is horizontal scaling, one is vertical scaling. When we talk about horizontal scaling, you increase the number of instances, right? And here in vertical scaling, you increase the capacity of the instance. Okay, now people who are very new to cloud, as I was also sometime new to cloud, I did not understand what is an instance. So that's not something silly or something like that. Instance is one particular service. For example, I am running a server, I need 10 such servers, so that those are 10 instances. Each service, each server, we are calling it as one instance. So for example, let's talk about horizontal scaling, right? Today I was getting some number of requests which was accommodated by one server. Okay, it is of some capacity, like this is the size t2 dot micro of the server, and some CPU, number of CPUs are there, right? Memory capacity, a specific memory capacity, and storage capacity is provided along with the server. But my site went viral tonight, and I am getting huge requests. So can you scale very fast or accommodate those number of requests when you're working with on premises? The answer is no. But you can do that in cloud. How? By adding similar set of environments, also called as auto scaling, right? You can, auto scaling is when you automatically scale based on some matrices, right? So for example, let's take a matrix as CPU. If the CPU increases of this server beyond 75%, you can add a rule that add one more server. Okay, now if again this average CPU goes beyond 75, add one more, right? So what you are doing, you are doing a scale out. When there is a requirement of more number of requests, you require more number of servers to accommodate the number of requests, right? So this is scale out. And when your servers are underutilized, that is CPU is less than 25%, you can also add a rule to remove the servers, which is in the case is scale in, right? So based on this matrix, it can scale in. So you can provide different matrices like time and many other matrices, memory capacity and so on. But we are going to talk about this as we go ahead in auto scaling concepts, right? So it is basically adding more number of servers. Now when we talk about vertical scaling, it is the increasing of the capacity of a single server. For example, I was using t2 dot micro server, but it has a particular x capacity, x number of virtual CPUs, x number of memory capacity. But higher memory capacity I want 2x, 2x and 2x more virtual CPUs, more number of memory, more number of capacity, right? In that case, I increase the same to t2 dot large or x large. I increase the capacity of this. So the same server I have increased the capacity. It can accommodate now more number of requests, more number of traffic it can adjust, but there is a upper cap limit. Why is there a upper cap limit? Just imagine this is your computer, okay? Now you added an external hard drive to this to increase the capacity of this computer, but it can increase up to a particular limit. Why? Because there is a specific configuration which supports additional memory, additional space and all, but still up to a limit, because the configuration will not allow beyond that. Similar is the case with the servers also. You can scale up, but you cannot scale up beyond a particular limit, right? And you can also scale down if you are underutilized. So always remember, with vertical scaling we have the terms such as scale up and scale down, and with horizontal scaling we have the term of scale out and scale in. Horizontal, number of instance you are increasing. Vertical, increasing the capacity of a single instance. Got it? That's great. So that was about scalability. So apps in the cloud can scale vertically and horizontally. You can scale vertically to increase the compute capacity by adding RAM or CPUs to the virtual machine, and scaling horizontally increases the compute capacity by adding instances of resources, such as adding VMs to your configuration. Now, as the scaling is there, similar to it, we have the elasticity. It is when you are automatically doing the scaling based on some matrices. So you can configure cloud-based applications to take advantage of auto scaling, right? So in that case, the cloud is elastic in nature. Agility is the quickness with which you can change whatever direction that you are. It's kind similar to dodging, right? You are running in a direction and you want to change the direction, you want to do something else. So you can deploy and configure cloud based resources quickly as per the requirement. So within a few minutes you can spin up a virtual machine. But can you do the same in on premises? The answer is no. Geo distribution. So you see, the footprints of these cloud providers are all across the globe. So you can take the advantage of the geo distribution provided by these cloud providers, and you can spin up your services into any of the region that you want, right? We will be talking about what regions are, what data centers are in detail. You can deploy applications and data to a regional data center around the globe, thereby ensuring that the customers always have the best performance in their region. So, for example, your concentration of the users are in US West. So, you will spin up a data center in a region which is either US West or some region which is near to US West, so that when the users try to connect to your servers or to your applications, there is less latency in between. Then we have DR strategies, which is very important, because the whole data center can go down, the region can go down. So you take advantage of cloud-based backup services, data replication, geo distribution, and you deploy your applications with the confidence that comes from knowing your data is safe in the case of an event of disaster. Disaster recovery, as the name suggests, is that when the disaster has struck, what to do now. So there will be terms related to RPO and RTO. We will be talking as we go ahead. So capital expenditure versus operational expenditure. So capital expenditure is one time payment. For example, you are buying the car. So 5 lakhs you invested in buying the car. So that's a capital expenditure. And what is the operational expenditure? Like the petrol, the regular maintenance, the servicing of the car. These comes in operational expenditure. So in terms of data centers, capital expenditure is buying the servers, and operational expenditure is like electricity bill, ensuring that the servers are cooling down, right? Keeping a proper administrators to ensure the salary of those administrators, all these. So upfront cost of spending money on physical infrastructure, costs from the capex have a value that reduces over the time. Always remember, when you buy the servers, the price goes down with time, right? Operational expenditure, it is spent on the products and services as needed, and you get billed immediately. So also when you talk about cloud computing, it is a consumption based model that is also known as pay as you go, right? So how much you use, you pay for that much, right? There is no upfront cost. There is no need to purchase and manage infrastructure, right? All these will be taken care by your cloud provider. You can pay for additional resources, and you can stop paying when you want to deprovision the services. So cloud services provides a consumption based model, which is pay as you go. How much you use, you pay for that much. Now comes the categorization of the cloud. So we will be talking ahead about the categorization of the cloud in the next video, right? And we will talk about what infrastructure as a service is, what platform as a service is, what software as a service is, and what is the shared responsibility model offered by cloud, right? So stick to the contents, right? These are the contents that we have discussed today, the basic introduction of what cloud is. So please do like and subscribe. I need your support, and that will motivate me to make continuous videos on the topic. So I hope you enjoyed the session, and happy learning, everyone. Thank you so much.